In today's video, I would like to do my first deep dive retrospective of Armored Core 4 Answer, one of my favorite Armored Core games ever created. Definitely a controversial subject because they changed so much from the original Armored Core games. But lore-wise, it makes sense, and you'll hear about that in this video. But first, a message to all the retro console appreciators. This is the year 2023, and emulators have come a very long way. You can now enjoy this game at 60 frames per second and 1440p upscaled graphics, and honestly, I don't see a reason to ever play this game on original consoles again. But that's just my opinion. The whole idea is to try this game out, especially before Armored Core 6 comes out. And if you own a copy of this game on the original console, more power to you, definitely play it. But I highly recommend trying upscaled graphics and 60 frames per second because the ultra fast combat in this game really looks great at those speeds and graphics.
Explanation! No, what are you doing? What are you doing? No! Stop!
Miyazaki himself directed Armored Core 4 Answer. We all know Miyazaki from the Dark Souls series, but Armored Core is where this gaming icon got his start. His work started a few years earlier as the planner for Armored Core Last Raven in 2005, and then cutting his teeth as director for Armored Core 4 in 2006. I think he learned a lot from Armored Core 4 since 4 Answer has much better arena and customization options, but his love for change and trying new stuff also introduced the extreme speeds of Armored Core 4 Answer. How fast-paced the mechs are was a controversial topic back then, and still to this day, very dividing amongst Armored Core fans. You could break down the entire fanbase into two pools. The pre-Armored Core 4 Answer group that likes slower mechs that stay on the ground, and then you have the Armored Core 4 Answer team that loves the high-speed fighting. Even Patches makes a cameo in Miyazaki's game Armored Core 4 Answer as a Lynx pilot, Patch the Good Luck. He is ranked 27 in the Collard Arena, which is a sort of ranking system amongst Lynx pilots. We'll talk more about this later. In the mission where he makes his debut, he is a cowering mess, begging for mercy, and even in the description it says he likes sniping from a safe distance and behind cover. Yup, this is Patches. Also in this game I thought interesting that many people don't discuss is a ranked 14 Lynx pilot named Ornstein. Pretty interesting. And we see that same Ornstein name later on in Dark Souls. Armored Core 4 Answer released in the year 2008 as the 13th installment in the series. Surrounding its release that year was major titles like Grand Theft Auto 4 and Metal Gear Solid 4, overshadowing lesser known titles like Armored Core. Even 1 week prior to Armored Core 4 Answer, Rock Band 2 was released, which was way more popular than Armored Core as a series. You have to realize that in 2008 the gaming sphere was a lot different than today. Today major releases are far and few between, and it seems that everybody frenzies over these supposed AAA games and buys them, even though they are unoptimized garbage usually. Back then in 2008, games like Armored Core could fly under the radar and not be received by the masses. AC4 Answer released on September 16th, 2008 on Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3 to fans of the Armored Core series who received the game with open arms, begging to play a new Armored Core game. But to their chagrin, some of them were not happy with some of the quote-unquote improvements. But in my opinion, Armored Core 4 Answer was vastly improved, in many ways, than its predecessors, like all the parts and customization you could do for your mechs. Also, the online play was vastly improved. To this day, with emulators like RPCS3, you could still play online with highly skilled PvP enjoyers. But there were aspects of the game that were controversial and still are to this very day. The ultra-fast, neck-breaking speeds of AC4 Answer come to mind immediately. Fans of the series didn't like this new way the mechs moved and boosted. Flying became the norm, and using overboost to go 300 km per hour at any time bothered old-school fans. Also, the new Kojima weapons and ultimate attacks could be cheesed by you and the AI opponents, which frustrated people quite a bit. Despite that, AC4A has a cult following, and it's always a debate between fans of old, slower AC designs and the new fans of speed that even to this day, with AC6 releasing in 3 months, people speculate what kind of armored cores will be in the new game. The setting of this game has always fascinated me. Even as a kid, playing it 15 years later, I appreciate the voice acting and mission briefings even more, despite being short and sweet. The voice acting in this game is amazing, even though it's just one-liners from time to time, and the mission briefing. It's far and few between, but what we get is pretty good.
It is Omer Science Technology. You are to destroy the Sidon Avalanche Force. They're stationed at Sphere, a BFF-owned large-scale Kojima energy facility. At one time, the Avalanche Force was stronger than standard Mechs. They are armed with high-caliber sniper cannons, which make for effective long-range weapons. However, their machines are now considered obsolete.
Armored Core 4 Answer takes place in a post-apocalyptic, war-torn Earth where corporations rule everything. The corporations have joined together since Armored Core 4, and now they are known as the League, and they have created Kojima technology using Kojima particles, and the byproduct of this technology has polluted the Earth so much that the surface is uninhabitable for the masses. These corporations use this power to take over the entire globe without the old governments and regulations. Now these corporations are king. They rule with an iron fist. Their militaries, run by these new, highly advanced armored cores, are in total control. The League lives 7,000 meters in the sky with most of humanity's elite, on giant floating platforms called cradles. The populace in the sky has never breathed the toxic polluted air below, and most would die from it, from not being acclimated to the toxins. But on the Earth's surface is all the left behind rabble that basically run the resource plants that are used to fuel the cradles. The Earth's surface is in a state of constant warfare for these resources. Even though the League works together on paper, in reality they are in a ruthless cutthroat competition, and they hire mercenary pilots on the surface called Lynx, who use Nexts, which are the newest technology for armored cores. The corporations steal, kill, and destroy each other for power, money, and ultimately control. This is where you, the protagonist, works, as a unknown Lynx, being hired by various corporations of the League and other lesser companies to carry out their dirty work. 1 minute you could be working for one company, attacking rebels on the planet, and the next minute you'll be working for the rebels, attacking other companies. it's quite confusing and convoluted. Link's pilots have special neuropsychic abilities that allow them to utilize the AMS, or Allegorical Manipulation System, inside the next armored cores. The pilot's nerves are literally hardwired or linked into the next electronics, allowing lightning-fast reaction time and perfect one-to-one manipulation of these ultra-fast armored cores. This game takes place 10 years after Armored Core 4, and lore buffs disparage the vast changes to the world. In 10 years, the entire globe became polluted and went to hell. But in retrospect, the advancements in Armored Core technology and how powerful these next are, you can get a feel for the counterbalance that was needed in this story. This power, Kojima technology, that brought down global government armies and allowed the corporations to rule, has not only destroyed history as we know it, but the very nature of the world itself. In the entire Armored Core franchise, there is nothing as technologically advanced as the Armored Cores in this game. And lore speaking, it makes sense why your mech is so fast, so devastating, and why you, one pilot, can take over the world essentially, and destroy entire naval fleets, entire battalions, and crush the older normals, which are basically normal armored cores of older generations. You are fighting the old tech from the old games, which is slower and stuck on the ground or bunny hopping around. I thought this was brilliant. Especially playing it 15 years later, I could really appreciate it from a lore standpoint. Miyazaki does a great job with the story on paper, but it doesn't translate well to the player experience. Missions feel very compartmentalized and segmented, with major gaps and jumps in between missions. 1 second you're defeating rebels at Lineark, the last city of people against the League. Then the next minute you're attacking GA naval fleets, which is a mega corporation that hires you, then further jumping to being hired to defeat a giant arms fort, which is a gigantic battle platform. These are mega moving combat cities, essentially. Nothing leads you on to understand why they hired you, why they put their trust in you. It's so abrupt that at the end of Act 3, you're just hired to take down White Glint, who is the top dog boss for the rebels of Lineark, one of the best pilots in the game. It makes zero sense. You are literally a low Collard rank nobody. To better articulate this, the game's Link's pilots have a ranking system from best to worst, and they compete in a fun arena you get to play in-game. By the time of this mission, because of the gear and parts available, it's extremely difficult to be below rank 20. So basically there is literally 19 better pilots they could have hired for this mission. 19 better next armored cores. 19 better choices. But they chose you, little Billy.
What? What the?
It doesn't ever get explained why. Very odd. The other problem with the story in this game, as I mentioned before, is the extreme segments in between missions. But there's nothing connecting these missions at all. It's literally work for one corporation, fight another corporation, get hired by the very same corporation you just fought. They think it's a great idea to hire the person that just destroyed their last battalion. And now you work for them to fight other corporations. It's very odd, and the idea that Miyazaki had for mercenaries really is shown, I guess, in this. You are just a cutthroat mercenary. But again, the holes in the story, it doesn't quite make rational sense. And I really hope Armored Core 6 does a better job of having a thorough, fleshed out story that flows from mission to mission and task to task. Let's talk about the Armored Core parts and customization for a minute. This game, Armored Core 4 Answer, in my opinion, is one of the best armored cores for customization. It takes it to the next level. You are constantly in the garage, fine-tuning your armored core and always swapping parts out. The reason for this is the vast variety of missions that are thrown at you. For example, for missions where you're wiping out a bunch of enemies, you may need more ammo and more ballistics. Missions where you're fighting other Lynx pilots and against their highly advanced Mechs, then you may need laser weapons to penetrate their primal armor, which is a new type of armor in this game, essentially a force field energy shield. Missiles are great also, but if your opponent has flares that divert your tracking missiles, then back to the garage you go to swap those out. No other series has you enjoying customization this much, and you will be trying out all the weapon types by the time you finish the game. The main issue is acquiring money to afford all the upgrades. That's where New Game Plus comes in, and also Hard Mode. Hard Mode basically adds a Murphy's Law effect to every mission you play, definitely boosting the replayability of the game, but I do appreciate that it's not just the same mission. Maybe the mission that you played in normal mode has you using a super powerful rocket booster that attaches to the back of your mech to help you get deep behind enemy lines to destroy an arms fort. But in hard mode, that rocket booster will malfunction, and then you have to boost yourself manually the rest of the way, getting attacked by hundreds of enemies. Or maybe it's another mission where you are dueling 2 other Lynx pilots, but in hard mode, maybe it's 3 or 4, and they surprise you. Very interesting twist on things, and the hard mode is definitely appreciated, because this game is very short in my opinion, not counting New Game Plus and the 2 extra hidden endings that you can get in this game. The game only has 42 missions and 42 Collard matches in the arena. Earning S rank in missions you get the most payout, but this requires you to take the littlest damage possible. The more damage you take and more repairs you have to do, the less your rank will be. Sometimes the S rank is also affected by time, and in hard mode, if you get S rank in a mission, you earn 6 extra FCS tuning points, which is basically a way to overclock different aspects of your armored core. You could use this to make your loadout greater so you could hold more items, to make your engines output more energy, to make your radar better, to make your aiming more steady. These points are crucial to get better at the game and stronger. There are certain points throughout the game where you just earn a bulk amount, usually after beating a big boss or an arms fort, you'll earn 10. But hard mode, if you beat a mission no matter what, you get 5 FCS tuning points, but for S rank you get 6. Now there's other videos out there that do very deep dives into the lore, so much so that they even translate Japanese novels, comic books, and outside lore from the game that really helps better explain things. I would definitely check out those channels, like Armored Core Lore. This video is more of a review retrospective. So now we're going to go into some things that I like and dislike about this game, and some general ideas that you need before starting a game. We'll start with this. Be happy with your starter mech, because the parts are limited early on when you're first starting out. You basically have a tanky ballistic mech option, great for destruction missions, an energy mech better for 1v1 in duels, but the disappointing thing is this choice is only mech related. They give you an option to join basically 3 different mega corporations or go independent, but this has no effect on the storyline whatsoever. And I would like in Armored Core 6 if this mattered more. Maybe there's 4 different branching stories if they went down that route to let you pick what corporation you want to support. This game has no autosave feature, so have fun losing progress. if you are not religious about saving after every upgrade, every mission, every time you even look at the mech in your garage, you need to save this game. Back in 2008, this was a fetish of game companies to help make their games longer by setting your progress backwards. Very shameful, and nowadays we are used to having autosave. And usually with emulators you could do save states, which is very cool, but RPCS3, you have to jump through a couple extra hoops to enable the save state feature, and I haven't bothered with that yet. Maybe you will. Something I thought was great about this game and the customization is stabilizers. A new customization option, and it helps you balance your mech. But not only balance your mech, it looks really cool. A lot of these stabilizers add flair and different protruding pieces to your mech, and this was very unique when you fought people online in PvP, because you guys could have the same exact mech, but the chances of you having the same stabilizers is a lot slimmer, making him look different than you and more unique. I really liked it. But the balancing issue now, if your mech has a heavy weapon and parts on one side, like your left hand, and your weight is off balance to that side, you will turn faster in that direction and slower in the other. So you can balance your mech out perfectly, or for example, maybe you want to be able to turn one direction than the other, like if you're an energy blade mech using melee weapons. Another awesome thing about this game was the emblem system. You can make customized emblems, and back during the console generation of Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3, this was way ahead of its time. A lot of game companies like 343 or Bungie limited customizing emblems for the reason of not safe for work homemade emblems. And when you fought people in the multiplayer online in Armored Core 4 Answer, 9 out of 10 times it would be a not safe for work homemade emblem. Some giant dong or some robot with giant boobs, basically. And it was pretty funny back in 2008. This system, though, was used for more than just making your own custom emblems, but the decals in the game could be used to highly customize the paint jobs of your mechs, even further than what the game gave you. The game gives you very cool patterns for your mechs, very cool color customizations, down to the component level. You can have different parts, different colors, different weapons, different colors. They really went all out on the customization for your armored cores, and this translated very well into online. A controversial subject was the quick boosting and how fast the mechs are, but the quick boosting had a special feature that required skill. There was like a sweet spot for your quick boost. If you pressed the right trigger, basically 3/4 of the way down, almost over halfway, you could get an extra super fast quick boost that was better than your standard. It was used for turning faster everything, and the people that were good at this game mastered this. When I was a kid, I never bothered. I never really knew about it. But even to this day, I didn't use it once in my playthrough, just now replaying the game 15 years later. That being said, I think it's an amazing feature to add these little types of skill things that really good players can do, especially in multiplayer PvP. That would differentiate the super pros from the pros to the casuals. We were talking about how advanced the armored cores are in this game lore-wise, but you really get a scale of the next capabilities when we are tasked with destroying a naval fleet. The size of our mech is large, and the aircraft carrier you destroy shows how big and destructive your armored core is. A piece of machinery that large, moving at the speeds we do, you could see why Armored Core old school fans were a little upset. Lore speaking, this is the peak pinnacle of technology in the universe of Armored Core, What will Armored Core 6 have? Will they have big giant mechs, super fast mechs? From the trailer we see that the mechs do have the quick boost capabilities. We do see flying mechs. I don't know to what extent we're going to get though. The destructive power of these mechs wipe out the entire naval fleet without breaking a sweat. 80% of the missions in this game are super easy, and the remainder of those are extremely tough, usually pitting you against other high-level Nexts and Link pilots, and the AI will cheese you into the ground. I replayed the final mission of the first playthrough about 32 times. I was getting destroyed instantaneously by his energy sword, by the destructive power of these AI, and their old 2008 cheesiness. Eventually I had to keep going back, recustomizing my build, going from a heavy mech down to medium and even some light parts, lowering my engine weight, really tweaking the mechanics to make my mech faster and able to dodge his energy sword, and then eventually I cheesed the AI by just flying so far deep into the map that the enemy got stuck on a wall, letting the other AI, my partner, destroy him. Even for how bare bones the missions are, how short the game is, how compartmentalized and segmented the missions are, there's something about this Armored Core that has soul, where so many modern AAA games are soulless. And this Armored Core is my favorite to date. Maybe Armored Core 6 will be my new favorite, we will see. But I highly recommend you take a look at this game, download RPCS3 Emulator, become a part of the Discord, use a couple Google searches to find the information and files you need to play this game. Or dust off your old consoles and play it. You have 3 months before Armored Core 6 comes out. You definitely want to try this game. It may not be perfect, it may be short, and it may be a little weird in terms of story. But like any typical Miyazaki game, if you dig beneath the surface, you will find something here that still stands the test of time 15 years later. But let me know what you think down in the comments below. Did you play this game back in the day? Do you have fond memories of it? Were you one of the many people that did not like this game, or played it with a little bit of standoffishness? Also, if you want to support the channel, we do have a Patreon and channel memberships on YouTube. But the best way you can help out for free is just liking the video, sharing it with a friend, and also subscribing to the channel for more great video game content. I want to thank my supporters for helping the channel out, and the more help we get, the more full-time I can do these videos and produce great content. I'm getting better at editing, I think, and hopefully you guys are enjoying the progress. Thank you very much for watching.